Stocks fight to stay in the green. Joining us now to give you some insight into where you can put your money is Tom Lydon. He is editor with ETF Trends, and Jeff Fisher, analyst with the Motley Fool. Well, Jeff, can we discern anything from what's happening today? The Dow is now in positive territory, but the NASDAQ getting hit hard today.
Investors are just still trying to figure out what's next from the economy, and I think if you have an outlook of 6 months to a year to 2 years, you should be a net buyer of equities right now. There are some good companies at good prices. Let the volatility be your friend and average in on down days like this.
Tom, can you drill down a little bit on a day like this where we clearly see commodities are falling? But what about you? What do you see for the broader investment picture?
Well, absolutely. Liz, you have to pick your spots. I mean, right now, general equities are weaker, but there's some areas like technology, even though they got slammed today, are doing well year to date. But commodities, I think it's a great buying opportunity. We've seen a little bit of a correction in the last couple of weeks, but there's no doubt supply and demand, from a demand standpoint, overseas, these emerging market countries are still buying commodities in droves. And one other key important point is pension plans only have 0.4% of their allocation in commodities. That's going to increase as we have more access to commodities going forward.
And Jeff, to Tom's point on commodities, you might want to look at Plum Creek, right? Plum Creek Timber.
Plum Creek Timber, the ticker is PCL, is a stock we've been buying and continue to buy, and we also use options on it. They're the largest landowner in the U.S. They own more land than the state of Vermont. And they're diversified all across the country, northwest, south, east. And it looks undervalued. It's about $29 a share. We value it at about 36 to 40. Meanwhile, you're getting a 5.7% yield,
wow.
And it's just a well-managed company.
Is that what you look for, Jeff, now, is a well-managed company, but also an opportunity where the dividend play is still very much a part of beating the heart of the stock?
I think so, Liz. I think you want to find value, and if you can find management that also has been able to increase their dividend through this recession, as Plum Creek has, and where the dividend is safe, so you know you're going to get it in the years ahead, I think you have a good 1-2 punch there, a cheap stock, a high yield, and good management that's going to grow the value of the stock. So yeah, definitely, Plum Creek fits that bill.
Tom, in the past month or so, we've seen a lot of people touting NASDAQ, touting tech stocks, but, you know, they do depend on consumers having money to buy things, whether the consumer is a business or just somebody going in for a retail product that Apple comes out with. Is that finally catching up with NASDAQ and the tech stocks?
Well, looking at both retail, and there was a report out recently that's one thing that consumers aren't cutting back on. They want the latest technology, and that's important. And also, as far as businesses, IT area is the last thing that they cut on as well. So I think as we get into earnings in the next couple of weeks, you're going to see better than expected earnings in the technology area. And most importantly, you've got areas where you can go specific with exchange-traded funds that have specific areas in technology, both large cap and small cap going forward.
Tom, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about your market vector steel choice, because today,
Sure.
Alcoa, for example, getting hit very hard. Aluminum Company of America, this is also a Dow component. At one point, it was down about 4.3%. But you talked about developing nations and how they will still be buying. That's the coal ETF. I'm talking about the actual steel ETF that you talked about. But is there an opportunity where, if you look specifically at emerging markets, and do you count China as that anymore, that they're the ones who will be driving this, not necessarily the United States?
Absolutely. We're going to see a bifurcation. I think we're going to see emerging markets pull us out of this global recession. And for those that have money that are liquid, you can go into emerging market ETFs or commodity-specific ETFs. I mean, Merrill Lynch B of A did a study recently, and they found that from February of this year, there was only $80 billion in commodity-related indexes. Just recently, it's up to $125 billion. So we're seeing a huge influx of money into commodity-related indexes, and ETFs are a big reason why.
All right, Jeff, they're giving us the wrap here, but I couldn't let it pass. We're still in the gloaming stage of July 4th weekend. You've got an all-American stock, Tupperware. What's more American than Tupperware, right?
That's right, Tupperware parties. Maybe you hosted one this weekend, I hope. But
Oh, yeah,
that
sure.
stock is cheap.
Liz did, right?
Trade-
Yeah. In your dreams.
You're like most Americans. Now 70% of Tupperware's sales are overseas. Emerging markets, Tupperware is taking off. People are storing food for the first time. And of course, in the recession, people are bringing food in for lunch at work more frequently. So Tupperware at 10 times earnings, and they're growing. They're a counter-cyclical stock. They're growing, and they yield 3.5%. So it looks like a good all-American selection there.
Jeff and Tom, good to see you. And regarding Jeff, you can check out more on the motleyfool.com. It's a great website. Good to see you both.
Do you know how to
you.
make the Tupperware pop, by the way?
Burp.
Burp. Oh,
Come on,
that's
use the right
phrase.
technology, David.
She does do Tupperware parties, ladies and gentlemen.
No, I buy.